So welcome tonight, guys. So we've gone through 3 weeks of market animals, and tonight we're going to start our breeding animals. So excited to have you guys all join us as people continue to come on. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rylan.
All righty, so rock and rolling right into some stuff here. So we understand breeding animals. At the end of the day, breeding animals are going to be ones that are set out into production in some form or some facet. So, you talk some of those, the ruminant animals, so heifers, ewes, does. They're going to be everything from on pasture land of different kinds and different types to maybe being something that's in a little bit of a more confined space where they're going to be maybe a pen, and they're used as like a donor female where we flush them for eggs and stuff, and everything else. So, but at the end of the day, and then our swine, can't forget my favorite species. Majority of the time, swine are going to be raised in usually, kind of like a dirt pen and stuff. They're not going to have a lot of big room and get out and everything. But we always like to imagine our swine a little bit of thinking about them raised in confinement. And basically what that means is working through and talking about in the sense that, hey, we're going to be on concrete a lot of our lives, where we're going to be in kind of a confined space um, in a fairing crate and stuff. All right, so all that stuff. But so let's kind of rock and roll. So when you think about breeding animals, all right, one of the first things I want you to think about is really talking and everything. And actually, I'm gonna let you guys guess. Go ahead and dive into the chat box there. What is probably going to be the big priority for breeding animals? We know that with market animals, muscle was our big priority. So now it's going to be our big priority in breeding animals. Good, Bryson, in case you jumped in there. Absolutely right. So structure. Okay, and when we talk about structure, you got to think about your skeletal build. Okay. When I'm judging little animals and little prospects and stuff, ones that are going to be out there in kind of a spring show or a jackpot, not quite hitting their end point, definitely going to be some big ones that when we think about it, we're like, hey, we need to make sure that one is built right at the ground. So for me, that's huge right now. When it comes to females, we want to make sure they're built right, built square, built genuine, really built to last. Because at the end of the day, these are going to be gals that are in production. They're going to live for years and years and hopefully have lots and lots of rounds of babies, whether it's, a whole litter of them, a set of twins, or, a single calf themselves. But we got to make sure they're built right. Okay, so that's huge. So then what's going to be my second thing? So I've got the things, I've got some structural build, some quality. What's going to be second?
I'm reading about what's that called?
Okay, breed characteristics, muscle.
Goat, sheep, a cow, a chicken, a horse.
Okay.
Mark,
So,
what do you know?
remember, folks, what Brian said, make sure you're going to go ahead and mute yourself unless I ask you to talk, all right? But anyways, yeah, that's exact. So we're going to have the next big thing is going to be rib and body. Okay. I know in the show industry, we kind of want our females a little bit stouter and stuff, and we'll get there. But at this stage in the game, we want to make sure they're functional, okay, so they're sound and good at the ground, and that they're productive. Okay, so what that means is they've got plenty of rib. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to have to sit here and have to, if we're going to keep them for years and years, we want our females to be rather cheap to be able to afford, to be able to feed them. So if we have some big bellied kind of gals, we talked about with our cattle, being soft sided or easy feeding, that's definitely something we're going to lean into a little bit more when it comes to these females. So we're going to be well built, okay, really sound, really good structure, have some rib capacity, okay, so they're going to be able to take in lots of groceries, grain or feed or grass or anything, and be able to convert that into energy or nutrients that they're going to be feeding their baby, okay, through milk and everything. So we got to have some body, got to have some structure, okay, and then don't forget at the end of the day, these are females, so they need to look like ladies. All right. So if you haven't already, get your steno or your notebook out. Okay. And we're going to start with our first class. Now, a lot of time when it comes to breeding animals, you're going to have some different things. We talked about last week, it was just like market hogs or market steers, market goats, market lambs. So here we might get into a little bit more. And someone mentioned in there, I think it was Bryson did, something about breed characteristics. We're going to lean into that a little bit here today. Okay. We're going to start putting a little more emphasis on that. And so first class we're going to have is scimitar heifers. Okay, so go if you haven't already, go ahead and add on there Simmental heifers. All right, remember, set it up and set your spot to be able to take your notes. Be able to have your placing written down, the whole shebangle dangle. Okay. All right, so I got my Simmental heifers. I'm gonna go ahead and rock and roll on into it. Let me find it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna share my screen, so let's rock and roll. Okay. Our Simmental heifers. Okay, if you don't know how to spell Simmental, right there. All right. So real quick, when you think about Simmental heifers, okay, most of the time when you see a Simmental, she's gonna be one of two colors. She's gonna be red, she's gonna be black. Okay. Remember, we don't really call our animals brown so much. We say red or black. Okay. So we're looking for ones that are red or black. And then oftentimes it can have what we call a baldy. Okay. Anyone know what a baldy is? Anyone know what a baldy is? Chloe, what's a baldy?
Is it a white face?
Yep, exactly right. So it's going to be a white face. Okay, so we're going to have a baldy, and then the other option a lot of time we'll have what we call kind of a brockle face. Okay, a brockle is going to be one that's kind of, you can kind of characterize those on the way of, you know, so you take an all black female with a baldy bull, cross them. Usually it's going to end up with a calf that's just got some white spots on its face or kind of some white design, stuff like that. Okay, but that's predominantly what we're going to see in our Simmental heifers. Okay, and I'll admit, I've seen some with some extra color elsewhere and everything, some white and whatnot splashed around, but for the most part, that's really going to be probably the most traditional look that we're going to see with our semi heifers. All right. All right. So, gonna walk through it in the very same format we've been rocking and rolling with. So, here we go. Our first one. Okay. All right. So, first thing I got to figure out, I got to get an ID for this cow. Well, we just talked about it. Okay. I'm going to label already. She's the baldy heifer. Okay. She's a baldy. Okay. And remember, a baldy, so that's going to be exactly it. So she's black with a white face. Okay. If you're a Hereford person, you might recognize that as well of like, oh, that's the white face we talk about in Herefords. Okay. There we go. So a white face. So she's a baldy. Okay. Very good. Then I'm going to talk about her structure. Okay. So when I think about a female, again, this one's just on the stand. She's not moving yet. I do have some later that have some videos and stuff of them moving, but the way she's built, we're going to really study her just like our cattle, study her in her top line. Okay. Study her in her top line, study her in the way she comes at the ground and how she sets in. Really study her what we call from hooks to pins. So how square her hip is. Okay. And to see how comfortable and well built she is. Well, for me, this is a good one. Okay. She's built really correct and really genuine. So a lot of kids, when they first see this class, they go, well, she's got a real big dip in her back. Okay. So I'm going to tell you this is she's comfortable in her spine. All right. So if I get her out on the move, she's not going to roach up and get real high topped. Okay. She's going to keep some comfort there. And that's totally where I want it. Okay. I'm very okay that she's got a little bit of a give there in her back. Okay. You wouldn't want your spine to be just sitting super straight and super rigid. Okay. That would hurt a little bit if you're a big old heifer. Okay. These are big girls. All right. So she looks to be square built. Okay. She's square, so she's built good. She's got good feet and legs up under her. Okay. I like how she's set here. She's set down really comfortably there through her hock. You can see there's a little bit of give there. Okay. She's looking good, looking square, looking genuine. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to talk about her body capacity. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, looking at this rib, so we're going to study her here from behind the point of her shoulder all the way down to her, what we call her heart girth. That's this kind of imaginary line here. They've kind of got it clipped up that way too to help us out. And down here into her forerib. This girl is deep. Okay, it is a deep, deep bodied kind of gal. All right, and if we had a picture of her from behind, you'd probably see a lot of rib shape or a lot of what we call spring to her rib. She's going to have a lot of curvature there. Okay, a lot of spring there in her rib. And you want a lot of spring because that's just going to help show that she's got more capacity and be able to hold more nutrients to be able to convert into energy. Okay, she's a real deep ribbed kind of gal. Okay, got lots of body. Okay, plenty capacity there. Okay, All right, now the next thing you're gonna look at, does she look like a lady? Well, where do we look for that? Well, the first spot we're gonna look is up in her head and her neck. Okay, we want her to be real nice and cleaned up through here through her brisket. Okay, she looks real clean, real feminine, got a long, pretty neck in her. Okay, and then talk about, she just kind of give you a look of a big maternal cow. Okay, when I say does she look like a cow? Okay, so I'm talking here up in her flank as well. Does she have just a real deep, soft-sided look to her? This is one that I would like to call she's broody. Okay, that's a term you're going to hear me use a lot tonight. Is she broody? And what that means is she's feminine and just got a real big, deep, soggy body. Okay, got some really good things going on that we like about her. Okay, so again, she's a baldy, she's square built, deep ribbed, got plenty of body, and she's nice and broody. Okay, in the chat box, there's anything that anyone doesn't like about this heifer. Go ahead and jump there in the chat box and tell me, is there anything you don't like about this heifer? Okay, Brian thinks she's a little bit posty-legged. I would think so, maybe a little bit here in the front. That's when we get out on the move, I think she's going to surprise you in how well she gets out in strides. Okay, but very good. Okay, well, let's move on to number 2. Yeah, talking about posty-legged. Okay, number 2. So we talk about our face coloring. So when I talked about a brockle heifer, that's what this one's going to be. Okay, she's a brockle heifer, so she's kind of got that white kind of mixed in with some black spots all over. So I'm going to call her the brockle. And again, remember, I'm taking these notes here in my notebook or whatever you got to write on and stuff, right? So I'm writing it all down. So she's a brockle heifer. Okay, brockle heifer. Next thing I see, her structural build. Well, yeah, talk about a posty one. This girl literally is set back behind her hip. Okay, she's not very comfortable. All right, she's not very comfortable. She's really straight-legged. In her front feet here, you can really see she wants to turn out real bad. Okay, so she's really, really straight in her build. So again, she's just not really built right. She's really tough and how she's set in together. She's not going to move very comfortable. She really wants to kind of sit here and kind of see how she's sitting here in her hips. You can kind of see these 2 imaginary spots here. It gets a little bit different there in color. Those are going to be her hooks and pins. Okay, her hook bone should be kind of pretty level coming out to her pins, and it really wants to drop pretty good out here. Okay, so she's kind of posty-legged. She's kind of straight. All right. Body capacity, she could be deeper. Okay, especially in comparison to that other heifer we just looked at. This one could definitely be a bit deeper. But one of the biggest things I'm looking at, guys, this one looks like a man. All right, she's short and crusty necked. All right, she's super masculine. That's going to be a big point I try to make about this one, is she's just masculine. She's masculine, she's short necked. Okay. I guess she's got some rib. Maybe not in so much in comparison to the other heifer, but this is when I would like to use the word moderate. Okay, so when I say moderate, she's smaller. Okay, she's smaller and got some rib to her, some depth. Okay, so she's not going to move very good, but when I do feed this one, she's going to be able to eat quite a bit and maintain her body pretty well. Okay, but we're definitely going to be struggling a little bit with just how she's put together from her structural integrity. She just looks real mannish. Okay, so again, biggest things on this one, she's kind of off there in her structure. She's real short necked, kind of cresty. Looks real mannish. I mean, this one looks more like a steer. Okay, so she's not really the best breeding heifer we could have out here. Okay, all right, rolling into number 3. Okay. Very different female than we just saw. Okay, this is going to be another one that we would say another brockle face. Okay. Now, between the first 2 heifers in the chat box there, which one does this one look more like? Number 1 or number 2? Which one does this look more like? Number 1 or number 2? Number 1, yes. Number 1 should very much be the very quick answer there, all right? She looks like number 1. Yes, Chloe.
She looks like number 1 because she's way more bigger. She's not as short and stubby like number 2 was. She looks taller and bigger, but I'd say she's taller and bigger than number 1 was, I'd say.
Very good. I would agree. I think she's definitely got some size to her. So I talk about the word performance. Okay, when I talk about performance, you think maybe, okay, like someone putting on a show or someone being in like a band, they have a performance or something. Okay, when we talk about that in livestock, we talk about performance being one that's really got some size and growth. Okay, so if that's something you want to add into your notes, I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to say both those heifers really high performing. And honestly, this one I would agree is definitely in maybe a little bit higher performing. Maybe even the highest from what we've seen so far. Okay, so they've really got some size to them. Okay, they've really grown up big and tall. I really have some scimitar build and design to them. So here we go. Look into this one. She is dead level down her top. We like that. Okay, that's one that I think is definitely super duper level. Really, really neat in that appearance. She's got some rib and body capacity here. Something to note about this one, she's got some power. Okay, she's got some hip and some build on that one. You look here in her hip, she's got some power there. Okay, so I'm gonna say this one's real level. She's packing some power. She's got some punch down there. Okay. Now this one, so we talked about the first one, maybe looking like she's a little bit posterior legged, but this one I think is a little bit different in that, okay? But she's got, you see where she's kind of set here in her hock. This is what we call one that's got some extra set to her hock, okay? And what that means is when she goes to stride out, she's probably going to dip a little bit there in her hip, not bad, but she's probably going to drop just a scotch and going to tuck up under herself a little bit too much there, okay? But again, I think one that's built right, definitely have some depth of body, maybe not the same curvature and just pure rib shape that one heifer has, but definitely got some rib and body. Really, really nice, high quality looking female. She's still got some femininity and she's real pretty up front. But again, another real high quality one. I think it definitely needs to sit with the one heifer wherever we do put her. Okay, definitely needs to sit with the one heifer. But again, well built. Okay, she's square, she's genuine, got some good stuff. Maybe doesn't quite have as much, just upper rib shape there as far as true genuine rib shape goes, and maybe just a tick extra set there to her hock. But again, going to be a really, really good one. What do you got, Chloe?
One other thing I wanted to mention about her, her head is very nice. She has a very nice head on her. I mean, when I mean she has a nice head on her, I like her head shape. Her head shape is, in my opinion, better than 1 and 2.
Yeah, I would.
So far, what I've seen.
Okay, good. Well, I would agree. I think she does have a nice head on her. And these are definitely some scimitar gals, guys. So they're known for being a little bit bigger headed ladies. And I got a pretty good scimitar breed out here that I'm good friends with. And we were looking at a class of scimitar heifers one time, and she goes, "Yep, there's my simi gals, those big headed girls, big jug heads." So,
Brian, if I look at her, is she too thick in the neck or is that okay? She seems thick in the
so
neck. Got a
that's
nice
what I'm
head, but
saying.
the neck is my concern.
Yep. So she is maybe just a little, maybe not quite as refined as that first heifer. So that's another thing to note is maybe she is a little bit thicker there in her neck. Okay, that's absolutely right. But again, I think one that you need to just recognize for quality. And so notice we're kind of finding a pair there in 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. Okay. And so Brian, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a lot of things, you got to be careful with to make sure when you get a close pair like that, that's when you get nitpicky and can really break down some smaller things. See, I talk about she's maybe got a little extra set to her hock. She's maybe not quite as have as much spring to her rib. You brought up she's maybe just a little bit coarser there in her neck, just in the sense that she's just a little bit thicker there, not quite as refined as another female in here. Okay, so that's excellent. All really good things to bring up. And Chloe, I agree. We're talking more so her neck. Her head is very beautifully built and put together. Okay, but again, just little things when you get a high quality pair, you can nitpick about that. All right, here we go on our last heifer here. All right, so the big idea on this one, she's red. Okay, that's a big old red heifer. All right, Okay, now I look at her for her structural build and her integrity. Okay, how she's built. There is only one word to describe this girl's structure. That is straight. Okay, she is probably as straight as my pen I'm holding here, as far as how she is in her set and her back legs, as well as her and all four legs. Very, very straight-legged kind of female. Okay. She's super duper straight. She's not going to move very good. She gets a little bit bullier here out of her shoulder. You can see it kind of poking out a little bit there and being a little bit coarser and rough. Okay. Doesn't have near the body capacity of two other heifers out here. She's real. She's ugly. Okay. So again, big thing we're going to point out. We're like, you know what? This is a real straight made female. Okay. She's real. When I talk real coarse, okay, when you think about a female, want to be super long, extended, and attractive. Okay. We talk about those lambs and those goats, you know, they want to have a neat look to them about the front and head of their neck. This one's just kind of the opposite. You know, she gets a bit cresty. When I say cresty, that means it almost look like they got working almost kind of a hump there in their neck, just like a bull might. Okay. And just kind of just mannish looking. She's real masculine. Okay. Real straight legged. She's got some ribbon body, but I mean, not quite. She's not real soft and easy going about her rib. Okay. But one thing I'm going to note for sure, this one, that's exactly right. Real thick in her neck. Okay. One thing that I'm going to note on this one, look at the hip shape she's got here, guys. Okay. Some crazy good hip shape. She's really muscular. And that's a positive we can find about this girl. She is certainly a muscular and powerful female. Okay. Now, is that necessarily always the best thing? You got to have some, you know, some give and take there. But that's one that I think she offers a lot of power to her future offspring. But that's one that I think when I put her out to a pasture, I'm concerned. Okay. She's just going to have some trouble getting around. And I don't think she's going to be the one that we want to keep daughters out of. We don't want to have a bunch of females like this. Okay. So I'm going to go through them all again. Here we go. So we got number one. Kind of make your final notes, your final placings there. Number one. Number two. Number three. And number four. Go ahead and get your final placings in there, folks. Throw them there in the chat box. Okay, very good. Looks like a lot of folks are finding the pairs there, with what all that and everything that's going on there. And I definitely think you're right. So I think the first thing we got to do is find a high quality pair on the black heifers. Okay, those two black heifers, but I think both carry some quality, some genuine build, genuine kind. I definitely think they're where we want to be as far as the front pasture type and just a herd of females that are going to be really productive and also have some look and genuine build to them. And I think you find that in 1 and 3. Now, if you want to flip a coin and say, you know, I think I like this one a little bit better because of this, I like this one a little bit better because of this, I can absolutely respect that and understand that. But for me, I just like the extra feminine and broody look that 1 brings. I think she's a super up-headed, really feminine, attractive female who's super long and clean about her head and neck. One who I think just fills it into a really full and vibrant rib shape there. She's really bold as far as the shape up on the upper part of her rib. And just carries it down into a really full and soft looking side view there, and just really fills it in soft and easy to her flank. I think when we get this one out on the move, I think she's going to be the one who strides out real good, real genuine in her build and kind. Sure, she might get a little bit straighter there out of her front too, but we're kind of working to some showier heifers who are going to be developing some steers. and everything like that. But I think this is one that's just going to be genuine, going to be a top dollar kind of heifer all the way around. Following it up, I think again, a female who just screams quality and dimension. One who's just really, really attractive from the side as well. Really, really level. Just maybe some nitpicky things on this brockle face heifer. I think she's one that again offers a really quality view from the side, but one who I think maybe just gets a little bit extra set there in her hock. One who I think gets a little too soft there, or a little bit flatter there on the upper part of her rib. Just want to really spring that one up high and just kind of condition her up a little bit better there through her head and neck. But again, a really, really high quality female to be in second. There's a pretty big quality split between these females and where I go next. And I think you can argue either way to go with the red heifer, the moderate heifer. For me, I like the red heifer. I think there's more breeding pieces there. I think one that's also got some size and performance to her. If I can find one, that's really going to just influence, just really put a really stout build into a calf is definitely going to be one that I find here in 4. I think that's a really masculine or really powerfully constructed kind of female who's rocking a lot of hip and shape there through the backside. I think she's really got a lot of flair there through her hip and stifle, and I'm going to imagine she's got plenty up high as well. Just one who's just a structural issue for me. I question this one's ability to be productive for long term out in a pasture setting. Doesn't quite have the rib capacity that she's going to need to be maintain her body condition. Coming here to round out the class, I think we rock here with, we sit here pretty comfortably with the 2 heifer. For me, that one's just a bit too moderate. Sure, she could be a little bit younger than these other females, but when we judge our breeding animals, we got to imagine them all the same age unless specified otherwise. So for me, this is just a really underperforming female who just really gives you a real overall masculine look. She's one who I question from a structural point. She turns a bit too much there out of her front toes, and one who I think just needs to be redesigned in her skeleton. In addition to this, she just gets too high up there through her flank and just doesn't have a lot of pieces to offer a producer in this setting. I think that's one we maybe just need to set out to the sale barn or send that one off to be made in some hamburger. Okay, so very good. That is this class. So again, it goes 1, 3, 4, 2. So again, officials are 1, 3, 4, 2. Cuts of 3, 6, and 4. So what I can see of you guys kind of jumping in there pretty quick about stuff. I think you did a good job of finding your pairs. Finding 1 and 3 to definitely start it, and then 4 and 2 to round out the class. And then it was kind of a flip-flop here and there as far as what you guys talked about or what you wanted for your operation in particular. But again, they only cut you 3 on the top, 4 on the bottom. You can't flip that middle. That'll be a 6-point cut. Okay? Very good. Let me stop. Oh, no. There it is. Stop share. All right. Any questions about that class or anything? All right. If there's nothing, we're going to move right on. Okay. Let's rock and roll. Next class, if you haven't already set things up, go ahead and do so. We're going to flip on back. We're going to look at a different class here. So we're going to look at some Hereford heifers. All right. I do enjoy a good Herefy girl. Growing up, I cannot say I felt that way. I thought Herefords were kind of silly and plain and not really all that cool. But I've really grown to really fall in love with the Hereford breed. Okay. So Hereford heifers. Now, this is something that I do think you'll find in a national contest or at a big contest. Hereford heifers are definitely something I've seen, I think, about every year at our state contest, class of Hereford heifers, and they're definitely got some quality there to them. All right, so again, you got my Hereford heifers here. Okay, so some breed characteristics we're going to talk about with Herefords real quick. Okay, we've got some things like for IDs, we've got redneck. Okay, I don't know how silly that sounds, but that is something we can ID a Hereford heifer, because traditionally a Hereford heifer is going to need to have a white face, a white underline, and usually some white, what they call feathering going down her neck. Okay. So again, if she doesn't have the feathering, she's got an all red neck. We're going to call her redneck heifer. Okay. Another good one would be a goggle-eyed heifer. Okay. So that's when they've got one that's got the red patches over both their eyes. Okay. And it's not that one is better than the other. Some folks like in the industry definitely like to have a goggle-eyed bull or a goggle-eyed cow and stuff. And it doesn't necessarily change anything about their ability to produce. But a lot of time folks, they have less issues with, say, pink eye or eyes getting infected and whatnot when they got that goggle eye. Just kind of helps block the sun a little bit more, okay? But a goggle-eyed heifer. And then we talk about the feathering. So if you got a bunch of heifers with all got big old feather necks and stuff, maybe you got one that's extra long, a long feathered heifer or a really short feathered heifer. Okay. But here we go. Hereford heifers, number 1. And again, I'm going to kind of let you guys make some notes here and I'll kind of guide you through on the second one. And the third one is all you. Okay. Again, think about the first things that jump out to you from a structural standpoint, from a rib capacity, from her femininity. Start making some initial notes about her. Okay, so for me, initially, I think this one really gives you a long, extended feminine look. Okay, first thing that jumps out to me, I like to say she's feminine. Okay, I think it's definitely one that's really feminine, got a really long and extended neck. As far as her structural build goes, she seems to be square. She seems to be sound. I don't see any major issues with that one. And actually, if I remember correctly, all these heifers are actually out you guys' way. These are actually some heifers from Maryland. So got some rib, got some capacity there. I don't think she has quite the spring there to rib, not as much rib shape on how she's put together, but definitely got some depth there. Okay, so she's got some depth, but maybe not quite as much flare or spring. Okay, so just a little bit flatter ribbed. Okay, very good. Anyone have anything else that you want to add on there about this heifer?
I said she lacks strength. I just in the front end doesn't have a lot of strength to me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is one that just needs some more time and age to this one will help her to blend together and just kind of maybe make her a little bit stouter over time. But I'm with you, Brian. I don't think she's quite ever going to be the stoutest heifer. Or really just have a lot of strength there through her top line over time. But again, I think a solid heifer, but maybe just needs just more time and for me a little bit more feed as well, just to really bloom out and get big. Chloe, what do you got, girl?
I like her top line. It's very, very straight, but that comes with its disadvantages. When she walks, she could not look the best when she walks. And I also like her depth in her body. It's very nice looking.
Very good. Very good. Exactly right. I think this is overall, she's got some really good pieces. But kind of like you guys mentioned, there's maybe some little things. And so just some things to keep in the back of our mind as far as we keep looking at other heifers. Okay. All right. It's number 2. Number 2. So yeah, just giving you some time, take some initial notes, make some initial thoughts. Okay. So for me, when I first look and study this heifer, the first word that jumps out to me is brood cow. Okay. And when I say the word brood cow, I'm talking about a female who, for me, is one that I think is just going to be downright one of my best. Okay. I want to have a whole herd of these. Okay. She's super big and bold there through her rib, really soft in how she's built and how she fills in from her forerib to her flank. Okay. You might want to say, okay, cool, this one gets a little bit higher than her flank. But remember, these are younger heifers. Okay. So she's not exactly, she's not a bred or anything like that or further along. But again, just talk about one that's just really bold and really, really put together nice. About such she's bold and beautiful. And I think that's exactly right. But again, super, really, really good, well put together heifer. I think she's comfortable in her skeleton and comfortable in her build. I like this one. I'd like to make her a bit taller there at the point of her shoulder, but that's a nitpicky thing about a really high quality female. But again, big thing for me. This is a bold, broody kind of gal. This is the term I'd use to describe her as a brood cow. Okay, she's what I call a brood cow prospect. Right? Now, if I want to get nitpicky on this one, I think she needs to be a lot cleaner here about her head and neck. She gets a little throaty there through her throat latch. Okay. But yes, Gavin, she does have, that's what I was getting to. Good job. She's super long and ties in really high about her neck. Okay. She gives you just a really cool feminine look. I just like to clean her up a little bit there in her throat latch, but that's getting nitpicky on a pretty high quality heifer. Okay. Definitely good. Good catch, Gavin. Anything anyone else wants to add on there? Okay, very good. Again, I think this is a pretty sound made one. This gives you just a really, really neat brood cow look. Definitely has some cool pieces going. Big nitpick, real nitpicky thing is just, clean that one about her head, her throat latch a little bit there. Okay. All right. So number 2, number 3. And I haven't really thrown any terms there of like goggle-eyed or redneck because we just haven't really seen that so much right now. Again, take those initial first notes. Okay, here we go. Talking through a little bit of some things, for me, I think again, this is one where we already are kind of seeing, okay, I've got a pair of just really high quality females. I talk about high quality just being good. Okay, they're the kind that win shows, but also go on to make really good ones. Okay, so just a pair here, some females, so I think are just built right, built good. Okay. I think this one again offers a real soft, broody kind of look. And again, I think this is one that, she also is carrying some power there from behind. I think she's got just a punch of muscle there in the back. And I definitely appreciate that about her. Okay. I think it's a real good one. I think she's built right. Got a real long extended neck about her. She's really clean up through here. Again, really neat pieces about this one. Not a lot to really falter for. I think maybe this is one that, I think again, got a real nice, strong top line, lots of good pieces to that one. Okay. Definitely see an immense amount of quality there. Anything else about that heifer that anyone wants to add? Chloe, what do you got?
Her top line is very straight. She's a very straight body.
I would agree. I think instead of always using the word straight, we like to use the word strong. Is when we're trying to say kind of a positive. That's what you're trying to do. But I think, sure, Maybe this one looks a little bit straighter out of her front. But I think, again, a really strong top line, and I think one that's still going to be successful and good on that. Clean her up a little bit in her neck. I think, yeah. Again, like that last heifer, she gets a little bit throatier here. Is she for sale? Very funny, Casey. This is a heifer who's long. She's had her show career and everything else. So she's long gone and done. She's probably making babies now. Okay. Very good. But here we go. Our final heifer. Finally, this one hit them both. So she is red-necked and goggle-eyed. So whichever word term would be easier for you to use is the one that you should use. So for me, red-necked is just easier for me to say. But a redneck, you could say the goggle-eyed heifer is definitely one good ID for this gal. Okay. Again, just take her in, take some, some initial thoughts and notes. Okay, just taking her all in. Okay, so for me, one of the first things I'm kind of really able to pull out about this heifer and the one heifer, I think both of them are just a tick young. I think they're just young and not quite as far along as far as their progression and their performance. Just don't quite have everything filled in as much today, and that's okay. Just developmentally, that's something I want to maybe note in my reasons is, they're just a little bit behind as far as the heifers that I think are going to be a little bit ahead of them. Just kind of give you an idea where I put these gals, but those 1 and 4 heifers, I think they're just kind of young today, just in their green. And when we talk about ones that are green, that's what I'm talking about. They're built good, built right, but maybe just don't have as much groceries or as much time into them at this point in the stage in the game. So they're just not, they haven't quite developed quite as much. Okay. But again, I don't think there's a bad neck heifer in here. I think this one, again, gives it a pretty extended look up front. I think she needs just, again, more time to just kind of fill in there through her flank and just develop along. She's probably what I would say, probably from the looks of it, going to be pretty flat there in her upper rib shape. And you can kind of see that little triangle there, right there. I don't really have a great word for it, but just kind of that where they're sunk in a little bit, almost like a dairy heifer. This one just needs more time and groceries. She's looking a little bit green today. You can kind of see her ribs up here. And just one that I think just didn't quite have as much fill this morning when she came out to get ready and stuff. But again, I think a well-built female who's got the right pieces, just not quite as far along as some of those other heifers in here. But again, I think some quality to this heifer as well. But again, like I said, just the word green is probably the best way to describe this one. Okay. All right. So anyone else have anything else they want to add about this girl? All right. Good deal. Okay, so go ahead and get your final placings in and stuff. We're gonna go ahead and go back to the, oh, I saw 2 chats. Whoops. Okay. Little posty, I would agree, Bryson, maybe just a little bit. I think we're getting a little critical here. And if we see him out on the move, that would definitely change our mind a little bit. For sure. So here we go. Starting it through again. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go ahead and put your placings in there, folks. Okay, get your comments in. Okay, here we go. So let's talk through them a little bit. I think the first thing we need to know, there's definitely looks to be an age gap here between these females. We've got female number 2 and 3. I think are just the furthest along as far as their overall genuine build. They've just had more time just to really fill themselves in well, just really show off their feminine features. I think we just got a pair 3 and 2 here. I think we've got a pair of really high quality females who just really have all the fundamentals of what we're looking for. Just some really soft-sided, really easy made kind of gals who are going to be really productive when set out into a pasture set. And they're going to be able to maintain their body capacity and score and really be able to keep that ultra feminine look to them. And just carry some extra pieces. For me, I side with the 2 heifer. I think that's one who just maybe is just a tick better in the tie there through her head and her neck. I think she's packing just a bit more power. For me, if you want to really get critical, I think this one does offer a little bit more depth of rib there. And I think this is, again, one that just screams quality in a future brood cow who's just going to go on and be potentially hit the donor pen on down the road. Really, really nice, high quality Hereford female. Coming up here behind, I think number 3. I think again, one way I think I won't argue with you at all that this one also just screams quality from end to end. For me, this one definitely comes down to this ground with a big old foot and paw. Lots of bone in that one, carrying some plenty of power, and I definitely respect those qualities. But for me, from a female side, she just maybe gets not quite as wow as the heifer ahead of her. She just gets a little bit tighter there up into her flank, not carrying quite as much depth and capacity there through a rib. But again, that's some really critical things of a really high quality female who just maybe got just inched out there of the top spot. I think, again, a pair of really high quality, good looking females who are going to be really productive ultimately for any producer. For me, I think you then fall into some 2 heifers. So you got to think back, strip them down, strip them back. And for me, I actually kind of like the 1 heifer. Just a scotch better. I think that's one that carries some quality, get some more time, get some more just capacity into that one, feed her on along. I think she's one who just got out horsed today. Like I mentioned previously, she's not as developed as the 2 heifers ahead of her. One who I think definitely has a neat look and really appreciate how her skeletal design and her build really neat about her head and neck, real feminine and attractive. For me, again, just got out horse today, but definitely offers some good pieces. Give that one some more time. And rounding out the class here, you've got number 4. To me, this one, she just gets where she falls short for me. She just gets a little bit too straight there on either leg, on either end of her skeleton. And I think Bryson mentioned that earlier. And one that I think, just gets a bit frail there, frail featured there as far as her bone work and her bone shape. But again, I think a female who's got some quality to her, just maybe doesn't have all those extra wow pieces as some of the other females in her. But again, really high quality, really nice set of Hereford heifers. So the official placing goes 2, 3, 1, 4, cuts of 2, 4, and 2. So even if you flip those pairs, you're sitting pretty good. Okay, those top and bottom pairs, they only cut you 2. So that one's not bad at all. It's the middle that we can't cross that middle. That's always a big thing. Very good. Anyone have any thoughts about those Hereford heifers in that class or anything? Guys ready to roll on to our final class today?
So Rylan, when you are dealing, like if I looked at that class, there's definitely an age difference, right? Like
For
you could
sure.
just see that, right? Like, and so taking that into consideration, you just basically treat them that they're all the same age, basically. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep. So what I always do is unless specified. So if I'm in a judging class setting, usually a class like that, we'll have some data, which had in a whole extra layer of EPD data and stuff. Again, that's something for a future camp, a future summit and stuff on down the road. Talk about EPDs, but our expected progeny differences. So yeah, unless specified, yeah, these are they should be different as in their development as far as their age. Usually it's going to be, I've seen it set up like that, and you just kind of assume, okay, everybody's the same age, unless specified otherwise. So now as a judge in a ring setting, I'm going to guess these heifers are going to be split into 2 different classes, which then we get to judge them individually as far as their development, with the stage of development that they're in. But with a judging class, that's usually kind of be, unfortunately, sometimes that's what we run into with that. We're kind of like, yeah, we got to treat them all as the same age. So, but yeah, that's a good point to bring up and just clarify for everybody. Anyone have any other questions about the heifers? Alrighty, well, let's move on. We've got some more. I've got some fun classes for you. So let me look. We've got some options here. So you're gonna have to jump in the chat box here. Okay. First thing I see is what we're gonna do. So listen to all the options. I've got shorthorn heifers, limb flex heifers, and red Angus heifers. So jump in there and tell me what you want. First chat that I see is gonna be what we do. Shorthorn heifers. Very good. Sorry, Brian, you got beat out. Shorthorn heifers it is, which personally, that's one of my favorite breeds. So
What are limb flex heifers? I don't even know.
okay, that's a good one. So a limb flex is going to be a limousine Angus cross.
Okay.
Yep. So there's limb flex, sim Angus, sim solution, all that stuff. In the show cattle world, I kind of joke with people. I'm like, yeah, all the steers are crossbreds. So in the heifers, we can have an appendix, you could say, added on to it. So, but here we go, shorthorn heifers. Now, with shorty heifers, we're going to have a lot of IDs on these girls, okay? So understand, okay? Shorthorn heifers, okay? Shorty heifer girls. So, again, we're going to have some age differences in this class, but again, we're going to try and just judge them as is, all the same. But what I'll tell you about shorthorn heifers, they come in a couple different color varieties, okay? There is solid white, solid red, okay? Then there's what we call roan, which can either be kind of more of a red base or more of a white base. And then what we call a pied. So, dairy folks out there, you get your Holsteins and stuff. They're calling me to call it pied or whatever, kind of the spots. Shorthorn's going to have a similar coloring as well. Okay, but we're going to have red and white. Let me make sure that. No shorthorn plus heifers, which would be a shorthorn with almost kind of a shorthorn cross, you could say. So no blue heifers, but here we go. Shorthorn heifers. Again, you're going to go through, you're going to judge these as your own, and then we're going to roll on, and then we'll talk about it at the end. So number one. Number one, take your notes. And then I actually have a video of this gal, video of all of them for you to watch. Okay, play it one more time. This coloring is what I'll call kind of that pied coloring. Okay, you could say that she's the white underlined heifer. You can ID that one. Okay. Okay, so that was number one. Gotta get all back into things. Number two. Again, got some age difference here for sure. Just study them for the quality here. Okay, we're gonna do that one again. Okay, that was number 2. And again, it's a solid red heifer. Okay. Number 3 is we call the roan heifer. Okay, gonna watch the video on this one.
Consider this your sign to stock up on sign. Because right now at Vistaprint, all signs are 20% off.
We were doing so well without ads. Okay, we're gonna do it again. All right, that was that heifer. Okay, and our final one, she's all white. Okay, let's get these gals. This last one. Okay, one more time. Okay. Let's stop sharing screen for a second. Let me come back into them. Okay. All right, I'm jumping back into share my screen. Go ahead and get your final thoughts here. I'll go back and show you all of them again. Again, that's number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Okay, once you have your placing, go ahead and start posting that one in there. All right. We've got folks kind of all over the place here on this one, okay? And I will admit, I think this is a difficult class, okay? I think it's one to kind of really talk through and break down. So I'll be the first to admit, I don't think there's a super duper well-designed perfect heifer out here, okay? I think we've got some flaws we can find in all of them. All right. So again, we've got to really break down and think about our priorities. Okay. So again, shorthorns aren't exactly noted for being the best built and most structurally correct ones. They're known for growing a lot of hair and having a lot of power and a lot of things that make them really good club calves. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love a good club calf, but that's kind of what we're seeing quite a bit here with these females. Okay, and those of you that are big Shorthorn fans, don't be offended. I do love Shorthorns, I really do, but that's just kind of my take on it and been my experience. So for me, I think there's just a pair of heifers that I think just probably offer the most maternal look and rib shape and design. And for me, I think we find 3 to go first there. On the still, that's a really, really cool profile and female who's just really got a lot of sweep there through her rib. When we got a rear view of her, she had plenty of power and width from behind. Really going to be pushing. Someone asked, what's a club calf? Club calf is essentially a show calf. So again, one that's going to be usually really, really hairy, really, really muscular, really dense, really stout. Ones that are really good for the show ring. That maybe we don't necessarily, and I hate to say this, but don't always make the most productive cows. Industry standards, they're not always really where we want them to be. But that's beside the point. Good question though. But again, I think this roan heifer, I think just exudes the most quality. I think that's a really soft-sided female who's just got plenty of rib shape and capacity. In addition to it, like I mentioned when we got the video of her, seen her get out and move, she's maybe not the freest moving female that I've seen ever in my life. But again, one that I think has some quality pieces, got plenty of hip, plenty of power from behind, and gives you a really neat extended look up front. So again, comes at the ground with big stout foot and paw. To no surprise, she's super big hipped and powerful. But again, one that I think just really blows you away from the side. I would change this one a bit there in her skeletal design, but that's being nitpicky of a pretty high quality female. For me, I then followed up with the white heifer. I think the solid white heifer in 4 again is probably just our most maternal. She does give you a really feminine neck about her head and offers a real soft-sided look from the side. She's really, really going to be deep there through her rib, and I appreciate a lot of that about her. I'll admit she gets a little bit compact for me, gets to be a little bit jammed together in my opinion, but get her out on the move. She's definitely one who I don't necessarily hate this one out on the move. I think she's got some good pieces to her. Seen her watch stride out and flex. She definitely covers her track. Just one who I think definitely just doesn't quite have that super soft brood cow kind of look to her. I'd like to extend that one about her head and neck and just maybe tie her in a little bit higher there through the point of her shoulder. I think that's again just one that I think I like a lot of pieces, but maybe don't quite fall in love with everything about her. But again, another one that's going to be plenty stout and have some good pieces to her as well. Okay, and I'm going to cut back there. Okay. So for me, that's where I sit with those two. Again, I think just a top pair of quality females who just have some pieces that I appreciate. Again, I think there's some things I'd change about all these heifers, but again, just some maternal made females. I think then you've got number 1. I think this is one who's probably just the freest and just a long-sided, easy moving kind of female who definitely has some neat pieces to her. And if you like this one a whole heck of a lot and you want to throw her top, I'm not going to argue with you. For me, this one stands alone as far as their type and kind. She's a real long-bodied, cowy type female who just really gives you an extended look and got some levelness and some flex there from behind, but just doesn't have those extra pieces to just super wow you throughout. I'm sorry, can you guys hear that music too? Because oh, that's what it is. Sorry, that was my YouTube, my bad. But anyways, again, that's one that's just gonna really, I think, gonna be productive in the long run. This doesn't quite have those extra wow pieces, just to really blow you away in comparison to those two heifers in front of her. Okay. But then we roll out here. I think then you kind of roll into a young heifer. I think she just kind of PC at this stage in the game. Again, she's real green, needs more time to mature and bloom out and really fill in. But I think one that's got some good pieces and good features to her. Kind of concerns me a little bit there and how much she tucks up under there through her hock. Really just wants to cut in real tight there through her rear wheels. But one of the things got a level top and got some good pieces. Just really young, really, really green. Just doesn't quite have those extra things that these other females have rocking and rolling for him at this stage in the game today. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on that class. I know it can be a little bit confusing, a little bit some issues with that one, just with how you roll through. But again, we're going to run into some difficult classes like that. So, oh, sorry, the officials for that one are going to be 3, 4, 1, 2. And then as far as, yes, it cuts you 4, 2, and 4. Okay. So 3, 4, 1, 2 cuts of 4, 2, and 4. I don't have some thoughts about that class. I know it's it's difficult. It's a little bit different. Okay.
So I thought, like, when I looked at number 1, I was struggling on where to put her. Right?
Yep.
Like, I felt like 3 and 4 just needed to go together. And I struggled with 1. Does she go first or does she go third? Right? Because to me, she's probably the most mature in the class. Right? Like, just looking at that, you know. I don't know what other people thought, so it was one of those struggles. Is she first or is she third?
Yep. And we absolutely run into that all the time because we've had some heifers, some classes earlier we've looked at that are just like, hey, we've got some pairs, some females are just really, really similar in their type and their kind. And then we roll into and you're like, I've got this other heifer that I like for some quality pieces, but she's just so different. So Brian was exactly right. You have to keep 3 and 4 together, that roan and white heifer. They got to stay together in a class, but you've got to kind of think through, okay, I've got this other heifer and I see Ryan on here. He put her first. And I think that's something that you can definitely talk your way through. I don't think it's going to hurt you too terrible bad to put her up there. I think that's a good heifer in a lot of ways, but kind of depends on where the judges are going to find her. Okay. So very good. We do have some more time. If you guys like, we can go through one more class, or we can call it. I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
I was going to say, I don't know. So in Ryland in New York, our state tester this week. So I'm okay with calling it early today.
Yep. We're definitely going to call it.
Our 4th through 8th graders are taking state tests. This is the first week of 4 weeks of state tests. So it's okay.
We're going to call that one then tonight for you guys because it's definitely a thing of, yeah, I get that. I'm a teacher, so I understand exactly what you're saying. So, well, perfect. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys got a lot out of it.